Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to learn about hub sites in SharePoint Online. Hub sites is basically a fantastic feature which allows you to bring together all your related sites, your content, applying a common branding and navigation across all of those sites, and providing a seamless experience for your users. So without further delay, let's get started. Before we jump right into creating a hub site, let's quickly understand what they are. Right? I have this site. Basically, hub site is nothing but a SharePoint site, right? So I have this SharePoint site and which I have set up as a hub site. Now, under this hub site, if you see the global navigation, so this is the global navigation, which obviously you can edit, right? And I have connected HR, legal, and marketing to this hub site. So what it means is when I browse to the HR site, the common branding will be applied. So this top navigation will be same across all of these connected sites, right? The color scheme will be same on all of the connected sites. And if I try to change the color scheme on those connected sites, it won't allow me to do that because it is actually inheriting from the hub site. So let's have a look at the HR site, for example. If I click on HR, and on the HR side, you can see that the global navigation hasn't changed, although the second navigation has changed, which is because this second navigation is specific to the HR site. The color scheme is still the same, so we have the same color scheme, so you can basically apply the same branding across all of your connected sites. All right, so let's just go back to the hub site, which is the portal site. Right, and on this side you can actually have all of your contents rolling up from different connected sites. So for example, I have all these news posts, right? All of these news posts are basically coming from the connected sites. I mean, you can set it up to just come from this particular site, but you can also set it up to come from all those connected sites. So for example, this news post is basically coming from my legal side and from HR and portal, and this is coming from the marketing side. And same for the events as well. I've set up all these events in different sites, but I can have them rolling up onto the hub sites from all different connected sites. Right? So hub sites are basically really useful if you want to set up a intranet page or a specific site for a specific project where different groups are working in. And the good thing is hub sites can connect all your communication sites and your team sites as well. Let's have a look at the branding. So if I click on the settings gear and click on change the look, right? Under themes, I have this particular theme applied for the hub sites, which is basically rolling up onto all the connected sites. So if I go back to my HR site, so let's just close this one first. Okay, let's go to legal side this time. For example, let's go to the legal side. If I go to the legal side, obviously the top navigation remains the same, the top branding remains the same, and the site specific branding is there. I mean, when I say site specific branding, is basically your the second navigation header and all of the navigation that you have. You can basically have a common logo as well. You can put a logo there as well on your top navigation, and the logo will be displayed on all of your collected site as part of the global navigation, right? But the sites can also have their own specific logos. So it all comes down to your branding, how you want to brand your hub sites. Okay, let's try to change the theme for this connected site, for example. So if I go onto the settings gear, change the look, click on themes, it doesn't allow me to change it because it basically says it is connected to a portal hub sites, so you cannot change the navigation, right? So that means you can control the whole branding from your main hub site, right? So these are basically hub sites, right? Depending upon your requirements, as I said, you can come up with a brand, a theme which you want to apply across all of your connected sites. If you want to set up a intranet page, for example, and have the contents rolling up from different sites. Now, to set up a site as a hub site, First of all, you need to identify a site which you want to set up as a hub site. That could be your intranet site, or that could be any project site, and you want to just connect different sites to have a common branding across all of those connected sites for a specific project or something. As an example, I've got this site which is basically a communication site, and I want to set this site as a hub site. And I've got this another site, the perspective, and I want to basically connect this site to the hub site. I mean, you can have multiple sites which you can connect to hub sites. Basically, could be communication sites or team sites, but these both are communication sites for now. So this is leadership connection, and I want to set up this as a hub site. Now, to do that, you will need your SharePoint admins to set up a site as a hub site in SharePoint, and that can be done from SharePoint Online Admin Center. Now, I've got my SharePoint Admin Center open here, and I have all of these sites, and this is the site leadership connection which I want to set up as a hub site. All right, so I'll click on that site, so which is basically the task which has to be done by your SharePoint admins, and I select hub, and I'll say register as hub site. Right, so once I do that, then it basically gives me another prompt. It says, okay, what's the hub name? So I'll just keep the name as a SharePoint site name, which is a leadership connection. And this basically says people who can associate sites with this hub. Now, these are the users or the SharePoint owners, right? So these people will basically get an option to, when they go to their specific site, whether they want to register that site to this hub site. You can leave it open. So when you leave it open, then anyone in your organization can basically connect to this hub site. They can connect to this hub site, but that doesn't mean the global navigation will be automatically updated. That global navigation is controlled from the hub site itself. So even if people connect to the hub site, they will inherit the branding and the global navigation, but nothing will change on your the main hub site, which in our case is a leadership connection, because that has to be controlled. I mean, for example, if you wanted to change the branding or add other navigation items or add a link to that particular site, that has to be done by the SharePoint owners or the the admins of that particular hub site. So you can, as I said, you can limit it to people as well. So I can type my name, and it basically gives you a people picker. You can select different people. If you want to just leave it open, you can leave it open. That means anyone in your organization can connect to this hub site and enjoy the same branding and the global navigation, right? So let's just keep it open for now, and I say save. So now this is going to register my leadership connection as a hub site. Okay, so if I go back to my leadership connection site and I refresh the site, it should now give us the global navigation for the site, right? So here it is. So now we have the global navigation, right? And I can now add links to this site. Let's just say we want to change the branding. I don't like this color, right? So once the setting gear comes up, we can change the branding for this site. Okay, so click on the settings gear and change the look, and we select a different theme, and we say we want to go with the red theme, and click save. Right, so as you see that the color scheme has changed for the site. This is just a typical changing the look for the site. You can obviously change different aspects of this site. Again, this header layout is specific to this site only. The global navigation is up here. So for example, if I change this to minimal, this is just going to impact this secondary navigation, which is the site specific navigation, right? And you can change the color scheme of that as well. So you can play with the background of this theme. So for example, if you want to have the dark one, it will just give you the dark one. You can change the theme to, kind of a light one. It'll give you that. So I like this one. So let's just stick with this one. And obviously you can change the site logo. This is again specific to the site itself. So I'll save this, and we want to change some settings for the hub as well now, right? For the global setting. So once you register your site as a hub site, you basically get this extra setting, which is hub site settings. And this is where you apply, some sort of common standards for your hub sites. Now, once the page loads up, right? Now, this is the place where you can actually upload a logo. And we click on upload, and this should now bring up a page to upload it. So I've got these logos. So for example, I want to apply this portal logo and click open, and this logo will be updated. Something's went wrong. Okay, so I've got this portal logo. I'm happy with that. This is just a hub again. So this is the name which will appear for all of the other sites when they try to connect to the hub sites. So let's just say we want to change it to hub site, for example, and requires approval for associated sites to join. Now you can actually set up an approval, although the other sites will have an option to connect to the site, but when they try to connect it, they have to require an approval. So which is again a good thing to have, because you don't want anyone to connect to the site, although they can, because it doesn't really matter for the hub site. But if you want to have approvals, then yes, you can create a flow to require an approval, right? So we'll just say no to this option for now and click on save. So now we have our logo for the global navigation. The site name has been updated, and it's now time to create some global navigation links, right? For that, we just click on add link and add some links to the global navigation. So I just want to add a link, for example, and this could be to one of those other sites, or it could be a policies, to any other open site which might not be connected to this hub site. So for example, let's just say we want to call it policies, and you probably want to link it to some other SharePoint site. You can put in a URL, but for now I'll just put in .microsoft.com. This is just a dummy URL, but you can actually put in the links to your actual SharePoint sites or policies on other sites you basically have. You can also enable site navigation audience targeting. So if you want to show certain links to certain groups or people, you can actually do that as well. But we're not going to look at this as part of this video. And I want to add another link. Sorry, I didn't click on save before. So let's just say it's a link, and we say policies, and we go www.microsoft.com and click OK and click save. We want to add more links as well. So this is a link, which is there, and I want to create a link to, for example, this perspective site, right? So I'll just copy that link and go to the leadership connection site, which is my portal site, and just paste it there. For your SharePoint sites, you don't have to put in the whole URL. You can actually start from the sites as well. So let's just say there, and what's the display name? So it could be the perspective site, right? So depending upon how you want to set up your navigation, you can basically set up, kind of a main menu and sites listed under that. So for example, if you just want to create a label first, for example, you might want to call it departments. So this is just a label with no link, and under departments, you probably want to create perspective, for example. This could be one of your departmental site, and I'll just make this site as a sublink to the departments, and we click save. So you can basically build your global navigation based on how you want to set it up. So if I now have my global navigation, and if I click on departments, I have perspective. You can create sublinks under perspective as well. You can make, for example, department could be HR. From under HR you have policies, you can create links. So this is all part of your navigation, that you can basically create sublinks, right? But you get the idea, right? So we are setting up a global navigation. Now the global navigation is set up, and I'm basically happy with that. I have my other web parts added to this site. So we'll look at the news post, how we can actually roll up news posts once we connect to the other site, for example, right? So perspective, right? So if I go to this site is not connected to my hub site as yet. So you can see that it has a different branding. It doesn't have any global navigation. So even if I refresh this site, this is just a standalone site, but we want to connect it to a hub site, right? Okay, so I click on settings, and we want to connect this site to a leadership connection hub site. Under settings, I click on site information. So under site information, this is now going to give me the hub site association. It's not connected to any hub site currently, but we can connect it. So if I do that, then I get 2 of these. Why I get 2 is because I already had portal created as a hub site. So we want to connect it to the leadership connection hub site, and we select that and click save. So it's now going to connect this perspective site to the leadership connection site, and it should inherit all the global navigation and branding that we have selected. So as you can see, the color scheme has changed. So the branding has changed, and it now has the global navigation. The logo is there. All of your links that we have set up for leadership connection hub site are there, right? So this is how you can basically have the common branding and navigation. Now this site has a lot of news contents, right, coming up, and we want to just have all of those coming up onto our leadership connection hub site as well. So let's just try to add a web part to this site. So for example, we want to have the news post rolling up from our connected sites. So I click on edit page. We'll just add a new web part. So if I scroll down and click add new web part, and we want to add it a 1 column. So it depends upon you how you want to structure your site. You can have 1 column, 2 column, but just for now we're just going to add 1 column option, and we're going to say a news. You can search it up as well. So let's just search it up. For example, I just say news, and you have the news web part, and so this is the news web part. Now we just need to edit this web part so that it can actually connect, right? Now by default, when you add this news web part, it basically said under the properties of the web part is basically saying all sites in the hub. So whatever sites are connected to this, it's just going to roll up all the news contents from those sites. But you have an option. You can basically say just bring the news from this particular site only, or all sites in the hub, or you can basically select the sites as well. So if you click on select the sites, then all you need to do is basically search up by URL or title, which will just bring up this list. But if you have these connected sites, you can basically select them. So for example, we want to bring the news from perspective, we can select that, or frequent sites or recent sites. You have these other options. And the next is the layout. So this is the default layout, right? But you can have your hub news, for example, template, or you can actually have it side by side, right? So if you select that, then obviously it's going to change the layout. It does tell you where the news is coming from. So for example, the news is coming from the perspective. Now the leadership connection site might not have any news posts in it, so it's not showing them, but this news is basically coming up based on when you added the news. right? Then you have further options. Basically, you can say how many news posts you want to show. Do you want to show number of views on the post? Do you want to show the author name, for example? If I, that's the author name there. If I switch it off, then author name won't be displayed here. Then you have the option whether you want to show the first published date. This is based on how you want, which news posts you basically wants to display. So you have all of these options. You can actually further filter it down based on the words in the title that the news you want to display, right? So this is basically, you can have the news items displayed from your connected sites. And same goes for the events as well. Right, so you can basically create a new web part on this page, and you sort of get the same options when you try to add all of those events, whether you want to display the events from this particular site or from the other sites. So for example, if I search up for events and all my events there, and if I go to the properties of those events, then it'll basically give me an option, whether I want to show the events from my connected sites or from this particular site only. So on the properties page, the source is basically all sites in the hub by default for a hub site, but you can change it, where you want to display the contents for those events. You can select a particular site, or you can select all the hubs, and you can change the date range for all the upcoming events, or the events just from this month or this quarter, or you can select a date range. So you have all of these filters, which is basically a standard typical features for any SharePoint site when you try to edit or add a web part to that, right? So you might probably already be familiar with all of these, but rolling up contents, this is how you do it from your different sites. So this is, when I added this hub site, when I connected the prospective site to leadership site, this was kind of done by a site owner, right? But your SharePoint admins can also, do this step. So if you have a process, if you want to have your sites connected to a hub site, you can raise a request depending upon your process within your organization, and your SharePoint admin should be able to basically associate a particular site to a hub site, right? So for example, they just select a site and you say associate with a hub, and then they basically kind of get the same sort of functionality, which hub you want to connect this to. For example, I've got this site called TechByTosh, and then let's just say I want to connect this to leadership connection, and I click save, and then when I browse through this TechByTosh, then it should have the same branding that what we have set up for our leadership connection hub site. So let's just quickly have a look at that one as well. So I click on that, and I click on browse site, click on the site address. Once this loads up, it should have the same branding that we have set up for our leadership connection site. So so yeah, there we go. We can see that the global navigation is the same branding has been applied, and if we want, we can basically go back to our leadership connection site and change the URL basically. Let me republish this and basically change the global navigation to add the intranet TOSH as well to your global navigation for the site. Yeah, so this is how you create a hub site in SharePoint Online. I hope you learned something new today. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments, put them in the comment box, and I hope to see you again. Thank you for watching.